The story you're about to hear is an unofficial fan-made work inspired by Bob's Burgers. It is not endorsed by the network or creators. This is a dark, fictional reimagining created for fun, not profit. Bob's Burgers, Tina's Cannibal Diaries, Season 1, The Fog. Entry 4. Dear Cannibal Diary, the fog rolled in waves like a gray ocean, and it brought a crazy, blind, starved horde to our doorstep. I should back up. Home from the scavenger hunt. I was at my usual post with the ledger open and a mint in my pocket that I had not used yet. The mint is for later, for when the fog taste gets too thick and you need one clean minute of peppermint to remember what relief feels like. Dad was at the grill, patties hissing, salt going on like prayer beads. The spatula moved in the rhythm that means everything is normal even when it is not. Mom was warming up her voice in the corner. Gene was testing his pans with 2 wooden spoons, trying to find the note that sounds like courage. Louise was checking traps by the back door, her bunny ears sharp against the gray light from the window. The line outside had formed. 30 people maybe. Fog-faced and patient. They know the rules. They wait. We serve. Nobody rushes. Rushing gets you killed or locked out. And that's when we heard it. The screaming is closer now. Much closer. Not one voice. Hundreds. Maybe thousands. Individual screams. Overlapping. Rising and falling like a choir that forgot the hymn and just kept singing anyway. Do you hear that? I said. Bob looked up from the grill. He tilted his head. He has good ears. He can hear a timer go off 3 rooms away. He can hear when the oil is wrong just by the pitch of the sizzle. He heard it. Yes, he said. Louise stopped. Jean put the spoons down. Linda's scales trailed off into nothing. The screaming sounds got louder. It was not coming from one direction. It was coming from everywhere. The fog does that. It bends sound. It makes a whisper from across the street sound like it is inside your ear. It makes a scream from 2 blocks away sound like it is on the roof. But this was different. This was not the fog playing tricks. This was real. This was close. I went to the window and looked out at the line. The people in the line heard it too. They were turning their heads, looking around. Some of them pulled their scarves up higher. And then I saw the fog move in fast. It was rolling in, not drifting. Rolling. In waves. Like the ocean when it decides to come up the beach and take something back. The gray came in thick and fast, and it did not scatter. It formed shapes. Channels. Clear paths cutting through the murk like someone had drawn lines with a ruler. All the paths pointed at our neon sign and front door. The line outside started to break apart. Some people ran. Some people pressed closer to our door. Some people just stood there because they did not know what else to do, and standing still felt safer than moving. Louise was already at the door. She looked through the glass. Her face did not change, but her hand went to the bolt. "How many?" she said. I looked past the line, into the fog where the paths were opening. Shapes, moving fast, not walking, stumbling, running, crawling, coming through the fog like water through a broken dam. "Too many," I said. Bob turned the grill down, but he did not turn it off. The grill does not go off. That is the rule. That is the altar. "Get everyone inside," he said. His voice was calm. His voice is always calm. Now. Louise unlocked the door and pulled it open just enough. The people in the line pushed forward. Not violent, just desperate, just human. She counted them as they came in. 30 inside max, she said. Lock it after. Some customers got in. I recognized faces. Hugo was there with his clipboard pressed to his chest like a shield. Mr. Fishoder was there in his cape, leaning on his cane and smiling like this was theater. Teddy was always there with his battery frame strapped to his back, breathing hard, saying, for Bob, under his breath like a mantra. Some customers did not get in. I watched them through the window. They ran, some toward the docks, some toward the wharf, some just into the fog because panic makes you stupid and the fog does not care. Louise slammed the bolt home. The door was locked. The people inside pressed against the walls and the booths and each other. The room smelled like wet wool and fear and onions. Linda stopped warming up her voice. She just started singing. No introduction, no announcement. Just the hymn. The one about standing still while the world does not. Her voice was strong and a little off, and everyone in the room stopped moving and listened. And then the horde hit. It sounded like water, like a wave crashing against rocks. I went to the window. I should not have looked. I looked anyway. Faces. Hundreds of faces pressed against the glass. Hands. Mouths open. Eyes wrong. Not dead eyes. Not monster eyes. Just eyes that had seen too much fog and not enough food and had stopped seeing anything else. The screaming was so loud it made my teeth hurt. They were not attacking. They were pressing, reaching, trying to get in, trying to get to the grill, to the smell of cooking meat, to the neon sign that promised food and light and something other than gray and hunger. I recognized some of them. Choo-choo. He had no shirt. His ribs showed through his skin like ladder rungs. His eyes were milky white, fogged over, blind. He was screaming with his mouth wide open and his hands clawing at the glass, and I realized I had never heard his voice since the fog came. Not once in 5 years. And now I would never forget it. Other faces too. People from evacuated zones. People from the park with pond mud on their clothes and their hair. People I did not know, but who looked like people I might have known before the fog made everyone look the same. They were not zombies. They were not infected. They were just starving. Just desperate. Just human. Fog drowned. That made it worse. "We can't let them in," Louise said. She was standing next to me with her knife out. Her bunny ears were sharp against the window light. Her voice had no wiggle in it. "We open that door, we all die." Linda stopped singing. She looked at the door. She looked at the faces. "They're hungry," she said. "We have food." "We don't have enough," Louise said. Bob stepped away from the grill. He stood between Linda and the door. He looked at her. He did not touch her. He just looked. "We open that door, we all die," he said. Linda's face crumpled, just for a second. Then she nodded and went back to singing. Quieter this time. Sadder. The horde pressed harder. The glass started to bow. Just a little. Just enough to see. Louise turned to the room. Teddy, main door. Rudy, back door. Mort, basement. Jean, make noise. Tina, count heads. Everyone moved. Teddy took his position by the front door with the battery frame on his back like armor. Rudy appeared from somewhere with his scarf pulled up and his inhaler on a string around his neck. He took the back door. Mort went to the basement door and locked it from the inside. Jean grabbed his pans and started making noise. Not music, just rhythm. Loud, disruptive, confusing. I started counting. 12 patrons who made it inside before the lock. Hugo, Fishoder, Teddy, Mort, Rudy, Jean, Louise, Linda, Bob, me. 21 people inside. Hundreds outside. The math did not work. The math would never work. Louise was right. We could not save everyone. I put a mint in my mouth. It tasted like blood before it tasted like peppermint. And then I saw Jimmy Jr. He was across the street. At Pesto's. Their window was already broken and restaurant overran. I could see shapes moving inside. The horde had hit them first. He was outside, running, stumbling through the horde toward our alley. His shirt was torn. His face was bleeding. His butt was still perfect. Blood does not change geometry. I did not think. I moved. I went to the back door where Rudy was standing. I grabbed the bolt. "Don't," Rudy said. "I have to," I said. "Tina." I opened the door. Just a crack. Just enough. Jimmy Jr. saw the opening. He ran. He hit the door with his shoulder and fell through. I grabbed his arm and pulled him in and tried to slam the door, but it was too late. 3 starving horde members slipped in with him. Real people, but gone. Eyes fogged white, hands grasping, mouths open and screaming. Rudy slammed the door behind them. The bolt clicked home. The 3 Hunger Horde members were inside with us now. Everyone in the room stopped breathing. The closest one lunged at Jimmy Jr. He scrambled backward. The Horde member's hands reached for his face. Teddy moved first. He swung the battery frame off his back and used it like a shield. He caught the Horde member in the chest and drove them back against the wall. The frame bent. The Horde member screamed. Teddy pressed harder. He was crying, tears running down his face, saying, I'm sorry for Bob," over and over again, while he crushed a human being against the wall with a metal frame full of dead car batteries. The Horde member stopped moving. Teddy let go. The body slid to the floor. Teddy turned away and threw up and cried. The second Horde member went for Linda. She did not hesitate. She grabbed her rolling pin from behind the counter and swung it. The sound it made when it connected with the Horde member's skull was wet and heavy, like a melon dropped from a roof. The Horde member went down. Linda kept singing. Her voice did not break. She just adjusted the hymn, made it about mercy, about survival, about doing what needs to be done when the world gives you no other choice. We stand, she sang. We salt. We serve. She hit the Horde member again. Twice more double-handled rolling pin, until they stopped moving. Blood on her apron, blood on the rolling pin, blood on her hands. She kept singing. The third Horde member was Choo Choo. No shirt, rib showing, eyes fogged white, screaming. Louise moved. Knife work, surgical, efficient. She came in low and fast and put the blade exactly where it needed to go. Twice. 3 times. Choo Choo dropped. Her bunny ears were soaked in blood. Human blood. Red. Not green. Not supernatural. Just red. She wiped the knife on her apron. She looked at Rudy. He was holding the back door with both hands. His breathing was fast. His inhaler bounced on the string around his neck. You good? She said. Yeah, he said. She nodded. She went back to her position. She did not acknowledge that she had just killed someone. She did not need to. We all saw it. We all understood. I could not move. I was standing there with my hands shaking and my mouth tasting like mint and blood and fog, and I realized I had let them in. I had opened the door. I had made the choice. 3 people were dead because of me. Jimmy Jr. was on the floor, breathing hard, staring at the bodies. Thanks, he said. His voice was shaking. Your family is insane. Yeah, I know, I said. I did not say anything else. I did not know what else to say. The ledger was on the counter, closed. I could not write. Not yet. Not while this was still happening. Outside the window, the horde kept pressing. The glass kept bowing. The screaming kept going. The fog paths stayed open. The neon sign kept glowing. And then I heard it. One small sound underneath all the screaming. A crack. The front window could not hold. Too many bodies pressed against it. Too much weight. Too much desperation. The glass was not made for this. One crack became a spiderweb. The spiderweb became 100 small fractures spreading across the glass like veins. "Everyone back," Bob said. He stepped away from the grill for the first time since the horde arrived. He picked up his kitchen knife. The big one. The one he uses for butchery. For breaking down the meat into portions. For doing the heavy work that needs to be done. He stood between the window and Linda. He did not say anything. He just stood there, knife in hand, spatula on the grill behind him. The altar abandoned, but not forgotten. The window shattered. Glass everywhere. Bodies falling through. Horde pouring in like water through a broken dam. No longer siege, full chaos. Screaming inside and outside, blood and fog and broken glass. Teddy swung his battery frame, crushed one horde member against the booth. Sobbed while he did it. For Bob, for Bob, for Bob. Louise moved through the chaos like she had practiced this, knife out, bunny ears streaked with blood, cutting threats, cold, focused, terrifying in the way that only Louise can be terrifying. Jean kept playing, pan in each hand, swinging, the sound of metal on skull. He tried to keep rhythm. "If I stop making noise, I'll think about it," he said to no one, to everyone, to himself. He kept playing, hands shaking, blood on his shirt. He kept playing and killing. Mort dragged bodies toward the basement door, clinical, efficient, treating it like processing. "This one's done," he said. "Next." His hands shook, but his voice stayed steady. Blood trail on the floor behind him. Logistics. Respectful logistics. Hugo tried to maintain order with his clipboard. He held it up like a badge, like authority still meant something. A horde member grabbed the clipboard and tore it from his hands. Hugo backed into a corner. He looked very small. Fishoder narrated. Like sports commentary. Like this was theater and he had box seats. "Oh, excellent form, Louise. Teddy, watch your left flank. Bob, that's a lovely knife technique." His coping mechanism was annoying, but it helped. It made the horror feel less real for just a second. Mr. Business appeared from under a booth, hissed at a horde member, vanished back into the shadows. Immortal, unbothered. The horde kept coming. Too many, too fast. Jimmy Jr. grabbed a broken chair leg and started swinging. He fought like someone who had been waiting 5 years to prove something. To himself, to me, to everyone. He was not good at it. He was desperate. That was enough. Rudy held the door, inhaler in one hand, broken chair leg in the other. A horde member grabbed his arm, bit down. Rudy screamed, kept fighting, breathing exercises between swings, blood running down his arm. He kept fighting. I grabbed the fire poker from the grill stand. It was still warm. I held it with both hands. A horde member came at me, hands reaching, mouth open, eyes fogged. I hesitated. Then I did not hesitate. I drove the poker through their chest. The resistance was wrong, softer than I thought, harder than I wanted. Blood sprayed. On my hands, on my face, on the ledger. The horde member dropped. I looked at their face. I did not recognize them. That was worse. That meant they could have been anyone. Someone's neighbor. Someone's dad. Had a life before the fog made everyone into just mouths and hunger. I tasted dirty pennies. I tasted fog. I tasted mint that had turned into blood in my mouth. I kept fighting. Bob was at the center of it. He moved like he was breaking down a carcass. Clean cuts. Procedural. No wasted motion. The kitchen knife went exactly where it needed to go. Horde members fell. He did not stop. He did not slow down. One of them was bigger than the others. No shirt. Covered in scars. Moving with more purpose. more focus. Choo-Choo's dad. He came at Bob with his hands out and his mouth open and his eyes fogged white. Bob did not hesitate. He stepped into the attack, used the knife, cut him. Once, twice, 3 times. Clean cuts. Butchery technique. The kind you learn from years of breaking down meat. Choo-Choo's dad kept coming. Bob grabbed him, pulled him close, drove the knife in one more time, held it there, looked at his face. "You want meat?" Bob said. His voice was flat. Not heroic. Not cruel. Just flat. "Get in line." He pulled the knife out. Choo-Choo's dad dropped. Bob looked at the grill, at the patties still sizzling, at the spatula waiting. He dragged Choo-Choo's dad toward the grill. Mort helped. Together they lifted him onto the counter. Bob picked up his knife, the butchery knife, the one for portioning. He worked fast, efficient, clinical. This was what he did. This was what he had been doing for 5 years. The only difference was, the body was fresh, still warm, ground meat on demand. Minutes later, he was flipping fresh patties. Real fresh. The smell filled the room. Everyone who was still standing stopped for just a second. Looked at the grill. Looked at Bob. He plated the first burger. Slid it across the counter. "For everyone who fought and lived," he said. Several patrons had died in the invasion. Then he went back to the grill and kept cooking. The horde inside was thinning. The horde outside was still pressing, but the fog was changing. The waves were slowing. The paths were closing. The screaming outside got quieter, not because they stopped, because they were moving away, dispersing, losing direction. The fog paths closed. The tide pulled back. The room was very quiet. Bodies everywhere. Blood everywhere. Glass everywhere. The smell of fog and fresh cooked meat. 12 patrons had made it inside before the lock. 8 did not make it. Some crushed outside. Some killed inside. I did not know which was which. Everyone was eating a Choo-Choo's dad burger. Mine had ketchup. Jimmy Jr. was sitting against the wall, covered in blood, traumatized, alive. Rudy was holding his arm where the bite was, breathing, functional, alive. Teddy was crying, hands shaking, battery frame bent, alive. Louise was wiping her knife, bunny ears soaked, face blank, alive. Jean put his pans down, hands shaking, shirt bloody, alive. Linda stopped singing, voice hoarse, apron bloody, alive. Bob was at the grill, wiping blood off his spatula with a dish towel, plating burgers, alive. Everyone had blood on them. Everyone. Hugo was in the corner, clipboard gone, staring at nothing. Fish odor was still standing, still smiling. "Riveting," he said. "Absolutely riveting." Mr. Business emerged from under the booth, licked his paw, totally immortal. Outside, bodies were piled in the street. Crowd crush. Not combat. Just physics. Just too many people in too little space with too much fog. Inside, Mort was in the basement, working. The sound of water running, the sound of work being done. The window was broken. The door was locked. The grill was still on. Bob plated a burger, walked it over to Teddy, set it down in front of him. "Enjoy extras for my best friend," he said. Teddy looked at the burger, picked it up, started crying and eating. Bob patted his shoulder, went back to the grill. I sat down. I picked up the ledger. My hands were shaking. I opened it. Blood on the pages. My blood. Their blood. Fog wet and sticky. I started writing. After the eating part, there was the dragging part. Teddy and Jean just grabbed what was nearest and started hauling bodies toward the basement like the restaurant had turned into a kitchen again, and this was just another kind of prep. Wrists, ankles, shirts, whatever held. Skin squeaked on tile. Shoes caught on chair legs. Every few feet there was a soft head bump thud that made my stomach do a small flip. Teddy's face was wet and red. Jean's mouth was open like he was about to make a joke, and couldn't find one that wouldn't break him. Louise didn't help at first. She stood in the middle of the room like a traffic cop with a knife, pointing, making sure nobody tripped, making sure the living didn't get mixed in with the dead. She was the only one who looked like she could do this forever. Mom dragged bodies too, apron still on, hair stuck to her forehead with sweat and fog. She didn't sing anymore. She just breathed hard and said small practical things like, "Watch your fingers," and "Don't slip," and "Okay, okay, okay," like she was talking a kid through a haircut. She hauled one down the stairs with Teddy on the other end and didn't flinch when the body hit the first step wrong and made that hollow bang that sounded like a door closing somewhere inside my brain. The basement door stayed open. It's usually closed. It's usually a line I don't cross. With it open, I could hear everything. The heavy drops, the wet movements, the short, ugly sounds that mean Mort is doing the part we pretend not to think about. There were hacks too, quick, controlled, not dramatic, like chopping wood. Except it wasn't wood, and I knew exactly what it was. The noises came up the stairs and into my teeth. They made the air taste like metal. I sat at the counter with the ledger open and my pen ready, and I couldn't make my hand move. I could write "returned" as a word. Jimmy Pesto Sr. hovered near the broken window. He watched Teddy drag bodies and looked like he wanted to say a mean sentence and couldn't find one that fit the new world. Jimmy Jr. helped without looking at me. He grabbed ankles. He dragged. He didn't talk. He kept his face turned away from the basement like if he didn't see it, it wouldn't be real. I wanted to tell him I understood. I wanted to tell him I didn't. I stayed frozen, watching the door like it was watching me back. Dad finally noticed I wasn't moving. He came to my side, not touching me, just close enough that I could feel him there. He looked past me at the grill, at the trays, at the bodies that weren't bodies anymore. They were meat inventory. "We have too much now," he said, and his voice was upset in a way that wasn't about death. It was about spoilage, about waste, about the math he always does. "It'll go bad. We can't—" He stopped because he didn't want to say, "Throw it out." Nobody throws it out. Louise answered for him, eyes already on the street. "Then we don't let it go bad." Mom wiped her hands on her apron like the apron could absorb reality. "We tell the line," she said. "Double portions. 2 days. We clear it." Dad nodded once, sharp, like a decision in a crisis, like a rule. "Spread the word," he said, and it sounded insane because it was insane, and also it sounded like the only sane thing in the room. "Double portions next 2 days. We don't waste." I put the mint in my mouth even though I didn't earn it. Peppermint hit first, then blood. Then the basement sounds rose again and I realized my clean minute was already over. Entry 4. I listed the family. All bloody. All alive. I listed the lost. Names if I knew them. Descriptions if not. 8 customers. Gone. I listed survivors. Jimmy Jr., shaking. Rudy, bit. Patrons, 12. I could not list the horde, too many, too anonymous, too human. I wrote special notes, private codes. Choo Choo and Dad, returned. Returned. My word for processed in the basement. My word for when the meat comes from someone who had a name and a face and a life, and now they are dinner. I drew a small wave in the margin, like an ocean wave, like the fog. I crossed it out. I closed the ledger. Linda came over to the door. She unlocked it, opened it just a crack, looked out at the street, at the bodies, at the fog pulling back. A figure appeared in the doorway. Jimmy Pesto Sr., covered in blood, shaking. "They got us," he said. "They got Pestos, the whole place." Linda looked at him, looked at Jimmy Jr., looked at Bob. "You can stay," she said, "for now." Jimmy Pesto Sr. nodded. He came inside. He sat down next to his son. He did not say anything. He just sat. Jimmy Jr. looked at me, then at Rudy, then back at me. I looked at Rudy. He was still holding his arm, still breathing, still competent, still here. Something in the room felt different. Not bad, just different, like a triangle instead of a line. Louise noticed. Her eyebrow did the thing, the half-millimeter thing that means she sees everything and will deal with it later. Outside, the line was reforming, smaller, quieter, haunted. People stepping over bodies, coming back to the door, waiting. Because that is what they do. That is what we all do. We wait. We eat. We survive. Bob salted a patty. The grill hissed. The spatula moved in rhythm. Dear Cannibal Diary, the fog sent us a tide. We did not drown. The window broke. The basement filled. The grill stayed on. Tomorrow the line will form again. They will expect burgers. We will make them. That is all we can do. That is all we have ever done.